So, very good evening, students. So, today we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is population. Population is an important part of human geography. So, let's start. Population. First of all, try to understand what this word actually means. Population means number of species in a certain area in a or at a point of time. Okay, number of species in an area in a specified area at a point of time. Correct? Let us suppose this is a anonymous geographical area. Let us suppose that at a point of time t1, the number of human species, that we call it population, number of human population हम अलग अलग स्पीसीज का निकाल सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हम कितने प्लांट हैं उनका पॉपुलेशन निकाल सकते हैं, कितने एनिमल्स हैं उनका पॉपुलेशन निकाल सकते हैं, कितने ह्यूमंस हैं उनका पॉपुलेशन निकाल सकते हैं. फर्दर हम इसे डिकोड कर सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैसे this is the, for example, XYZ is the human population. Then out of that XYZ population, this much is the number of male, this much is the number of female. Out of that male, this much is the population of children, this much is the population of young youths, working population, this much is the population of old ages. So population typically means number of species in a specified area at a point of time. Now, suppose this is an area and at a point of time t1, 100 people. In this chapter, we will basically deal with human population. So, at a point of time t1, 100 people used to live in this area. So what is the population of human in this area A at a point of time t1? The population P is 100 people. Clear? So now, this is the concept of population. Now we have to understand the different dimensions of population. If you know the different dimensions of population, you can easily understand how the population is spread, how the population is distributed. Okay, so now, right now in this chapter, we have to study the population through its various dimensions. So what are the various dimensions? So basically a population can be understood very betterly through first thing, that is first is the growth of population. Second, we can understand a population through its distribution. we can understand a population through its density, and we can understand a population through its composition. So a population we can understand the population very betterly through growth, through distribution of population, density of population, and its composition. Every population has its growth. So let us look after these all aspects and dimensions of the population one by one, and let's build a very good concept in geography. I have told you that geography is a conceptual subject, and right now we have to clear and we have to build a very good framework of concept in understanding population. So we will start from first thing, that is growth. Right now, first is growth. So in the previous slide, we have taken an area A, and at a point of time T1, the human population in this area A was 100. Now, suppose at a point of time T2, the population is 200. Okay? So population growth means the change in the population. Change in population. I am reiterating it that I am repeating it that change in the population. Okay, so population growth is nothing but change in the population of change in the population, change in the population of a specified area, between 2 points of time, between 2 points of time. So what is the change here in this area? Specified area is A, and what is the change? The change is T2. The change is del T is the change. Del is representing the change is T2 minus T1, that is 100. Correct? But this is not how the growth is actually calculated. The growth of the population is always calculated in percentage terms. So this change del 2 by T1 into 100, this is equals to the population growth. Suppose, let us understand it in an absolute term. In 1991, the population is, suppose, 1 lakh. In 1992, the population becomes 1,50,000. Now, if we have to calculate the population growth or the growth rate of the population, the growth rate of the population could be calculated as, now this is suppose T1, this is suppose T2. This would be T2 minus T1 by T1 into 100. This is the population growth. Now, so you have understand the population growth. Population growth is change in population over a specified area between 2 points of time. Correct? Growth of population or the population growth is always expressed in percentage term. There should be no confusion. Point number 3, this growth or this change in the population or this change in the population or the population growth can be in increasing terms, can be in decreasing terms. There are several factors also on which this growth of population or the change of the people, change in the number of the people depends. There are some natural factors. So growth depends on growth of the population, or the population growth depends upon the factor or influenced by some natural factors and induced factors. Okay, natural factors like birth rate, death rate, and induced factors like the volume of the people moving inward and outward. Like example is migration. So we have understand the growth of the population and the aspect in which the change of the people living in a specified area between 2 points of time are affected. So they could be affected by either natural moves or natural forces, and can be affected by the induced forces or induced factors. Come to the point third. Now the point third is distribution of population. Distribution of population. So we have to understand the distribution of population. Distribution of population basically describes how the population is distributed. In context of India, if we want to understand how the population in India is distributed, then we could see a pattern. Every distribution of population follows a pattern. So here the pattern is uneven. It is unevenly distributed in a spatial pattern, a spatial pattern, and the distribution is, and the population is unevenly distributed. Unevenly distributed. So unevenly distributed. What could be the reasons why the population is not uniformly distributed? Why not the population of an area A1 and the population of another area A2 is similar? Or suppose if there are several areas A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and these 5 areas comprise and they all collectively forms the landform of India, then why not A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 combine have a uniform population? Is it true? No, they have not a uniform population distribution. The population distribution is unevenly distributed. And how and why? The factor is the physiographic reason. First is physiographic reason, yani that is physiography. Physiography. Like in some of the areas of India, what physiography actually mean? Physiography actually means the different landforms, different landscapes, different geographical features. Like in India, the geography of the India is comprised of high mountains, high mountains, high mountains to islands, and areas with heavy rainfall to the area with very low rainfall. Like the in Meghalaya region, we have very heavy rainfall, but in some district of western Rajasthan, basically the Thar desert areas or the areas near about Thar desert or the western Rajasthan, they feel very scarce rainfall. They experience very low rainfall. So some of the areas are at high altitude. Some of the areas are very close to means you can say near about the mean sea level. Okay, so physiography means the different physical features. In this also the population is distributed, means the people living on the northern plain of the India, they have very large number of people living in the northern plain, but very small amount of people living on a high altitude, like in the hilly areas or mountainous regions or desert regions. Second is the climate. climate. And what is the basic component of the climate that affects the population? First is the temperature and the rainfall. Amount of rainfall directly influence the agriculture. Agriculture is the basic activity or economical activity that produces grains, food, and food is very important for the subsistence of the humans on earth. Okay, now, so distribution is affected by the physiography, distribution is affected by the climate, distribution is also could be understood by agricultural practices, and fourth is infrastructure. Some of the areas have very good connectivity with other areas. They have well-built roads. They have a very good connection with railways. There is railway connection. They have airports. They have good well-built roads. Okay, so good infrastructure is also very important. Suppose some of the areas there is lack of good hospital. Even people have to travel to 10 to 15 kilometers away from their village just to get a primary health center. So in such areas, you cannot see a very large distribution of population. You will always see a very low distribution of population over there. Now comes the third point. So we have the third point, and the third point is density of the population. So we will understand density of population. One by one we will understand first of all the concept. We will have to make the concept first of all. We will have to build the framework first of all. Okay, so density. Density means number of people per unit area. Number of people per unit area is the density. Density of population is a yardstick, is a tool to understand the distribution of population also. The density of the population not only helps in understanding the distribution of population, but the density also explain us, also describe us the human population pressure, over land. That is, we call it human land ratio. And to understand this human population pressure or this human land ratio, the physiological ratio is important to understand, and the agricultural ratio is also important to understand. Now suppose understand the density. So to understand the density, I am giving you two examples. First is, let us suppose how density changes. Density of India in 1951. In 1951 was 171 people per 1 kilometer square of area. Okay, but now as per 2011 census, there is 378 people per kilometer square is the population density in 2011. So the population density means the people living in 1 kilometer square of area. 1 kilometer square area, the number of people living has increased from 1951 to 2011, and it has increased from 171 people living in 1 kilometer square area up to 378 people living per kilometer square area. And as per the 2011 census, we could see that Bihar is a state with most or very high population density. So a very high population density also put pressure over the resources, and that we understand through the human population pressure. The population over resources, naturally occurring resources, depleting of the water table. Okay, so these are the factors that we could understand. For example, if we have to understand the human land ratio, we have to understand that how the resources are being used, how the water table is depleting, what is the pressure of the increasing population over the resources. Okay, so the population density is just like a tool, to understand very betterly distribution of population. It also states the human land ratio, that is the population pressure or human population pressure over land. We could understand this very betterly through density of the population. So population of density is nothing but a tool that give a better insight into understanding the distribution of population, a better tool to understand the human land ratio or human population pressure over land. So now we will try to understand the last concept or the last dimension, and that is composition of population. Composition of population. Composition of population. To understand the composition of population, so now this is a box. Okay, in this box there are ball. This is a ball. This is ball 1. This is ball 2. This is ball 3. Now if I ask you that this is a box and in this box we have 3 balls, then what is the composition of this box? Then you will tell me this box comprises 3 balls. One is a green color ball, another is a red color ball, and third is a golden color or an orange color ball. This is the composition of the ball in this bucket or in this box. So right now we have to understand the composition of population on this aspect in India. So if we understand the composition, then we can see the composition of the population depends on certain factors. For example, the population have a variety. Population is comprised of, first of all, people who are having or people who are access to all the basic necessities and facilities, like people who are living in city area, they have a very good per capita income. People have access to better hospital, banking services, road network, rail network, airport network. But there are some people who are still struggling and they have not better access, not a large access or even not access to a better schooling, better infrastructure, not have even a post office, not have even a bank, banking or any financial institution. So they lack the access. They have very low per capita income. So on this basis, the composition is divided into rural population and urban population. Rural and urban population. Now, this is the first composition. Next composition, the composition based on religious attributes. For example, in context of India, if you could see, the thorough population, the whole population could be divided into, could be separated, could be identified, could be classified on the basis of their religion, like people of Hindu religion, people belonging to Hindu religion, people belonging to Christianity, people belonging to Buddhism or Buddhist religion, people belonging to Jaina religion or Jainism, and people belonging to Islamic religion or Islam. Okay, so on this basis, the whole population could be separated, divided, classified. Okay, so this is the composition on the basis of per capita income or their access to the infrastructure. We have rural population, we have urban population, and now on the basis of religion, we have people of Hindu population, Muslim population, Christian population, Buddhist population, Jaina population, and the third and most important, the composition which is based on the language. People used to speak different language. Some people used to speak their native language, folk language. So on the basis of language, for example, in context of India, the people belongs to Tamil Nadu, they used to speak Tamil. People who belong to Maharashtra, they used to speak Marathi. People who belong to Gujarat, they used to speak Gujarati. So on the basis of language also, the population can be classified. Just like Gujarati people, Marathi people, means Marathi population, Gujarati population, Bengali speaking population, okay, and then Bhojpuri speaking population. So on the basis of these, that is called linguistic population, linguistic classification of the population. So we have understood the all four dimensions of the population, and when we go through and understand these beautiful concepts about the population, then we could have a better thorough insight of how a population is distributed, how a population is growing, is there any growth in the population or not, how the population is distributed, what is the density of the population, and what is the composition of the exact population. So to identify and to know the population and it's, when you understand the population very betterly, you have to go through these four aspects: the distribution, the growth, the density, and its composition. Then you can understand the population of any area, of any part of the world. To understand the population and its characteristic all over the world, you have to go through these four aspects and the four dimension of population. And once you will go through it, you will understand the population very betterly, and you will have a very broad insight of what the population is and how you can utilize this population as a human resource. Thank you. Thank you for connecting with us, and for betterly understand all the topics of geography. All the class 11th and 12th students, you are mostly welcomed and invited in our class. Thank you.